is the fifth day of Chodesh Adar, and we are at the top of our Amud for today, which is Kuf Yud Amud Aleph. Pretty much the whole Amud we are talking about the idea of zugos and the dangers of doing things in pairs, and what might or might not have happened to this concern of zugos, which we clearly don't seem to care too much about today. What exactly is going on with that? The Gemara picks up at the top of Kuf Yud Amud Aleph from a brisa that we had quoted yesterday that had told us that a person shouldn't eat in pairs and drink in pairs, meaning not with the chavrusa, meaning one person shouldn't eat two things or drink two things, wipe themselves twice, or be intimate with their spouse twice. And the Gemara then asks the question about the loya setzrach tray, top line. What do you mean that you shouldn't be intimate twice? Amai, why? Nimlachu, maybe you can change your mind. Meaning you intimate once and then later that evening again. Why not? Why would that be a problem? Amar Abai says, no, that's not what the brisa meant. What the brisa meant was, this is what we are saying. Lo yochel tray, you shouldn't eat two items. We used to tray and drink two items. V'lo yasetz rachel. And then do his needs, meaning be intimate with his wife, afilu pamachas, even once. Why? Dimachalish umisra. Maybe he will be weakened as a result of coming in contact with doing things twice. That will weaken him. Rashi says imachmas tashmish. Adi bezugaskai misra. He will be weakened by tashmish because he'll be tired, and then he will be more susceptible to the danger of the zugos, of the other magic / witchcraft / mazikin that exists as a result of engaging in zugos. Tan Rabbanan, the Brisa says as follows: if you drink in twos, dama barosha, your blood is on your head. That's it's a heavy statement. Amar Rabbi Yehuda says, Rabbi Yehuda, when do we mean that? When do we mean that we are concerned with this? Bisman shalirab pnei hashuk. If you haven't been outside in between, meaning you have a drink and then you go outside and then you come back and have another one, no problem with that. But if you went outside in the middle, you can do it because that's not going to join together. There's only drinking one and then drinking another one without breaking between. Amar Rav Ashi says, Rav Ashi chazina le Rav Chanani bar Bibi the achal kasa the akol kasa have a nafik because apishuka. He says, I saw Rav the Chanina or Chananya bar Bibi that between every cup he would go out to the shuk, meaning he would go outside of the street, he would drink a cup, go out, come back, have another cup. V'loy amran. And we didn't talk about this question of doing things in pairs, of zugos. The concern is only if it is on the way to going out on a journey, but if you're in your house, no problem. Meaning, if you're on the road, if you're going out on the road, that's where you shouldn't do things in twos, because when you go out on a journey, that's where you are more susceptible to all kinds of danger. This is also the makar for, in general, for the idea of escorting a guest outside. When you escort somebody, that means that they are protected from mazikin on a psychological level. Very simply, it means that they have somebody that cares about them. They know that they are not just being thrown out to the streets and nobody cares about them. No, when you escort somebody, it means that they know that you care about them. They're going to have a much more cheerful way of looking at the world because they know that they are cared about. And likewise, if a person is engaging in zugos, so that is something which is inherently anti-monotheistic, and even if he's absolutely a ma'amin, he believes to engage in zugos and then go out onto the road, that puts a person at a disadvantage. But if you're at home, no problem. Going to sleep is like going on a journey because, once again, you are not in full control of yourself. You are not in your normative environment. You're asleep. Rav Papa says, going out to the outhouse, meaning it used to be that it's not a journey, but you'd have to schlep outside, and going out to the bathroom was somewhat dangerous as well. That's also like going out on a journey. Is it really true that in your home you are not supposed to worry, or you don't need to worry about zugos? Rava would count the beams of his house, meaning at each cup he would count to figure out whether he's up to an odd or an even. V'abai kishas echad kasa, and Abai, whenever he would drink one cup, man could lay ime trei kasa b'trei yada. his mother would, that's his adopted mother. Abai was an orphan. So his adopted mother would have 2 cups ready for him. And he would drink 1 cup, and then she would give him 2, so that he wasn't having zugos. He would only have either 1 or 3. But Rav Nachman Yitzchak if he would drink 2 cups, menakle shame chad kasa, then his attendant, his shamish, would give him another cup to make it 3. Chad kasa, if he only drank 1, man lay trey kasa betray yadi, he would give him 2 cups, so that it would make it 3. Meaning nobody should ever have 2. Says the Gemara, yeah. And that was all in their homes. So how come they were nervous? Adam chashav shani. There is a additional danger about chashav people. People, regular people, there's not such a concern. But chashav people, everything that they do is scrutinized. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu is medactic with them kechut asara. And it would seem to be that any issue that they cause, a great person drinking zugos would be somewhat of a chilul Hashem, meaning other people would follow what they're doing or think that what they're doing is okay. So there is an additional concern even if they're at home. Amar Ula says, Asara kaisis ein b'hem mishum zugos. Yeah, the concern of pairs, of doing things in even numbers, it does not apply to the number 10. You're allowed to have 10 cups. How do you know this? Ula ladami, because Ula is consistent with his rationale. The Amar Ula says, and some say they were even taught in a brisa. What's this price? That the Chacham instituted that you should have 10 cups in a house of mourning. And that was part of the mourning process, of the grieving process, and the comfort process was there were these 10 cups that were served to the mourners. But if you would tell me that 10 cups is concerned because of zugos, how could the Rabbanan come along and institute that you're supposed to do something that would be dangerous? So 10 is not a problem. Let's go down. But 8 would be a problem. 10 is not a problem. 8 would be a problem. Rav Chisda bar Rav Huna Darmer Tarvayu Shalom l'Tov mitzaref l'Ra lo mitzaref. Rav Chisda and Rabba bar Rav Huna explained that 8 is also not a problem. Why? Because of the word Shalom. What does the word Shalom have to do with us? Because the last pasuk of the Birkas Kohanim is Yisa Hashem panav elecha v'yasem lecha Shalom, which is 7 words. And therefore, says the Gemara, that Rav Chisda and Rabba bar Rav Huna said 8 is not a problem. Why? Because once you drink 6 cups, that's problematic. You drink a 7th cup, that cup is the cup of Shalom. Because you can say that pasuk has 7 words, and those 7 words, each cup is connected to one of those 7 words, and therefore you have finished a unit. And now that you drink your 8th cup, what you drank was 7 plus 1. You didn't drink 8. Because the 7th cup is mitzvah for taiva, it fixes up the 6, but it doesn't create a problem when it comes to number 8. But drinking 6 cups, that would be problematic. Rabba Rav Yosef, both of them said, Vichuneka. You don't have to be worried about 6 either, because the second pasuk of Birkas Kohanim is Ya'er Hashem panav elecha v'chuneka, and that is Ya'er Hashem panav elecha v'chuneka. That is 5. That is 5. So you don't have to be concerned about that, because those 5 words. So once you hit number 5, that creates a unit, and then number 6 is not going to be a problem. That would be 5 plus 1, not 2 plus 2 plus 2. But if you have 4 cups of wine is going to be a problem. You would be concerned about this. Abaye and Rava came along and said, no, v'yishmerecha, the first pasuk of Birkas Kohanim is Yivrecha Hashem v'yishmerecha, l'tov mitzaref l'ra lo mitzaref. That is going to, the first pasuk has 3 words, Yivrecha Hashem v'yishmerecha, and that is a unit. And therefore the 4th cup is not going to be 2 and 2, it's going to be 3 and 1, and therefore you don't have to be concerned about this. Rava is consistent. The Rava avkin l'Rabbanan b'arba kaisos, because Rava would routinely send the Talmidim away after they had 4 cups, meaning he would have 4 l'chaims with the Talmidim, and then he would say, okay, off you go. Avalgav de is chazik Rava bar Levai, and even though it once happened that Rava bar Levai, one of the Talmidim of Rava, was injured as a result of this, it seems to be, he left his home and he got hurt. Rava wasn't worried about this. The Amar, he says, I'll tell you why he got hurt. It wasn't because of the 4 cups. He says, the Amar, it's because he kept on challenging me. He was shouting out in the middle of the shir. He would ask kashas in the middle of the shir to try to to catch out the Rebbe, try to embarrass the Rebbe, to try to show that he was smart, and that's why he was that's why he was hurt. That's why he was nizar. The Achronim point out here that you see that each generation, we're talking about generations going down, each generation they found another heter to tell you that the zugos are not going to be problematic. Meaning, we said 10 is not going to be a problem, and then 8 is not going to be a problem, and then 6 is not going to be a problem, 4 is not going to be a problem. And that goes down in the generations. Meaning, as the generations continue, they found more and more heterim, which seems to be that the practice of attributing zugos to Avodah Zarah was also attenuating, because things that are narishkat, meaning things that have a koach because people do evil things as a result of them, only have a koach because evil people think that they have significance, and that's why we would stay away from them. But if people don't care, then it's not a big deal. And that's the remes in the psukim, that in each of the psukim is like, oh, there's another heter that we could be mitzdarf here. Amar Rav Yosef says, Amar li Yosef Shita. Now this is going to get interesting. Rav Yosef says that there was a particular shade, a demon by the name of Yosef. Rav Yosef had a pet demon. I don't know. His name was Yosef Shida. It was Yosef the demon. And he said as follows: Ashmedai, who is the king of the demons, Malka de Shidi, Memunahu Al-Kulazugi. He is the guy that's in charge of all of the pairs. Meaning, anybody that drinks in pairs, they are at his mercy. Umalka lo yikri mazik, and the king is not a mazik. And therefore, and this is how the Rashbam says, and therefore we don't have to be concerned about zugas because the king of the demons doesn't really care to go and damage regular people. Ikda Amri Lalahagis, and there are some that say differently. Adarab, on the contrary, Malcha Ratzchanahu, my Debayavi, the king of the demons, he's got a temper, meaning he's in charge of things, so he can just rattle off whatever he wants. Because the king can has the right, we call it eminent domain, right? He's allowed to bash things down and make way for whatever he wants. And nobody stops him, and therefore the danger is even bigger, because he's the guy that comes to get you if you engage in zugos. So it seems to be the machlokes whether or not we have to care about zugas or not care about zugas, depending on how you understand the nature of malchus. Amar of Papa says, Amr Yosef Shida said Yosef Shida to me, betray Katlinan, ba'arba loy Katlinan. So Rav Yosef Shida told Yosef Shida, Yosef the demon, told Rav Papa that betray Katlinan for drinking 2 will kill somebody. Meaning the demons will kill you for drinking 2, not you, Khalil, somebody. In the days of the Gemara only. Ba'arba loy Katlinan, but for 4 we don't kill. Ba'arba maskina will do damage for 4. Betray with 2, bein b'sheg bein b'mezid. When it comes to drinking 2, whether he did it intentionally or unintentionally. Ba'arba, if he drank 4, b'mezid in b'sheg. If he happened to drink 4 cups, we won't even do damage to him. But if he did it intentionally, we will do damage to him. V'ishtali v'ikri v'nafek ma'takante. What happens if you did it? You accidentally drank 2 cups. V'ikri v'nafek, and then you went out after drinking 2 or 4, whatever the case is. What should you do? Says the Gemara, we've got a suggestion here. Linkud zakfa didei di mine biyad desmale. You take your right thumb and you put it in your left hand. V'zakva desmale biyade di mine, and put your left thumb in your right hand, like this. V'nema, and say and declare. Hachi, you're going to say like this. Asun v'ana ha tlasa. You and me make 3. You and me make 3. Meaning, and the Ben Yoyada explains, what's the concern is that once you've engaged in zugos, so now you are susceptible to these powers of zugos, of dualism that people that don't believe in HaKadosh Baruch Hu bring into the world. And what you say is, you unify everything. What you say is that there's me, and then there's chesed and gvura. That's how the Ben Yoyada explains. There's kindness, and then there's judgment, and all of them together are all one and the same. So meaning there's no zugos. Yeah, if there is more than one, then there's not 2. There's 3. And you see this, by the way, in the days of creation as well. That on the first day, Vayar Elokim ki tov, Vayir Vayiboker Yom Echad. On the second day of creation, when HaKadosh Baruch Hu creates the separation between the waters. So there's no kitov. And then on the third day, it's pamayim kitov. Then it's very good, because that's where you see that the separation was only in order to make it a bigger unity. That there wasn't a separation for the sake of separating, stam, to create disunity, but to create a greater unity, and that would be the odd number. That is mashlim. And if you hear a voice that then says, Ana ha'arba, yeah, me and you now make 4, meaning the demon is now speaking. Nemele, you should say, Asan va'ana ha'chamisha. No, me and you make 5. V'i shamale da'amar asan va'ana ha'shisa. And if it says, yeah, me and you make 6, nemele asan va'ana ha'shiva. You should add 1. You should always add 1. Meaning, when you add 1 to something, what you are adding is that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is still there. Me and you, there's no, and me and you are even here. No, there's HaKadosh Baruch Hu is in charge of everything. Have uvda ad mea v'chad. And it once happened that somebody did this up until 101 upakashida, and the shade exploded. Why is 101? So the Ben Yoyada explains it that 101 is the gematria of the Malach Michael. And the Malach Michael is all chesed. Is kula chesed. Is Mikael, who is like Hashem. That is the midah of chesed, the great midah of chesed of HaKadosh Baruch Hu is called Michael. That's Michael is on the right. That's in B'Shem Hashem Elokei Yisrael, Mini Michael. Michael is on the right, and that's and the Shadim have no power in the world of chesed. They only have power from the world of Gevura, and therefore the shade explodes when it encounters the Malach Michael, which is the midah of HaKadosh Baruch Hu of chesed. Amar Amema says, Amrli. Sinhi Dinashi Kashvanias. The Amemar said the head of the witches came and told me, Haman the Pagabahu Benashim Kashvanias. What do you do if you meet with one of these witches? You come across a witch. Nema Hachi, you should say, Chari Chami Bedikula Bazia Lepumaychu. Hot excrement in ripped up baskets should be in your mouth. You witches, your hair should become bald. The wind should blow away your crumbs. All of these things the Rashbam says we use for Avodah Zarah, their hair and their crumbs. Turning over the page to Kuf Yud Beis. Ivdur tavlunaychi, your spices should be spread around. Parcha zika le murike chadasa. The wind should blow away all of the perfumes that you are using to do your witchcraft. Nashim kashvani is you witches. Adchanani vechananche. As long as you Hashem was being kind to me, vechananche, lo I would not come anywhere near you. Hashta the asisi legai. Now that I've encountered you, karchanane vechananche, your chen and my chen have cooled off. Meaning, I regret that I've encountered you. Rashi says, "Hol uvati benichem." Now that I've come in between you, yodani shnizkoru rachmechen me'alai, that you do not have mercy on me. You're not going to be kind to me. V'gam rachme nizkoru, and I will not have mercy on you. Sheloi chasti al asmi, because I wasn't careful about myself that I came in contact with you. Meaning, a person that cares about themselves will make sure that they don't get involved in this. And then the Gemara says, "B'ma'arava in Eretz Yisrael lo kaped azugi." They didn't care about zugim at all. They didn't care about any of these questions. Now, the Rishonim and the Chachamim will point out, well, what do you mean? Because the Mishnah has the concern that of drinking 4 cups of wine, and that was in Eretz Yisrael. We have a brisa that with all the reasons. No, so it must be that at a later generation they weren't concerned about this, but in an earlier generation they did have concerns for this. But either which way, at some point in time, that concern in Eretz Yisrael disappeared. We will continue with Rav Dimi tomorrow. And I hope everybody had a beautiful weekend and a beautiful Shabbos Kodesh on our march just over a week away until Purim. And looking forward, to